When I was 7 or 8 years old, I knew a kid by the name of Caleb. Now, Caleb was one of those kids that needed the attention to be on him 24/7, and the way he got that attention most of the time was not by being the best student or the most well-behaved or the coolest kid in the room or by having a really unique talent. No, he did just really stupid things to get people's attention. I'm reminded of one occasion where he was sitting in the back of the classroom and he was chewing on a pen, and the teacher told him, "Stop chewing on that pen, otherwise it'll pop and it'll explode everywhere and ink will be everywhere." And Caleb, being Caleb, thought this would be really funny, so he started chewing on it even more, trying to get it to pop and break. Nothing happened. We go back to our regular scheduled programming, and we're just sitting there doing whatever work we were doing. And then in the back of the room, we hear a big, and we turn around, and sure enough, the pen has exploded, and Caleb has his mouth filled with what looked like neon blue ink that it dyed his teeth to such a haunting color for like 3 months. He walked around and introduced himself to everybody as Bluetooth Caleb. He thought it was very funny. I remember his mom was not amused. The point is, there's a lot of people like this that just do really stupid things for stupid reasons just to get attention, because that's what they want. Now, the reason they want attention can be different, but the moral of the story is that if you want easy attention for whatever reason, you can do something really seemingly stupid to garner that attention, to divert focus away from something else and on to you. Now, what on earth does this have to do with the title of the video? What does this have to do with Bethesda Game Studios? Well, I've been trying to figure out for the last 2 years or so what the hell is wrong with Bethesda. Because you see, I spend all day working with businesses and business executives, and we're doing all sorts of work on project modeling and budgeting and stuff. It's super fun, but the point of all of that is that when you're deciding on a project or some pursuit in the business world, there have to be very concrete reasons to pursue certain projects, and there are always constant roadblocks and checkpoints for each project that you are pursuing. So if you are going to launch something like Fallout 76, you're going to have multiple checkpoints throughout the project to make sure you're on track. And if you don't meet those checkpoints, as Fallout 76 obviously has not, you have to divert your route and adjust the project so that you can still pursue as many of those checkpoints as you can, albeit with different tactics and methods. So the question is what Bethesda's doing in their rerouted path, was that always intended? Was that part of the rerouting to find a new way to achieve those goals? Or is there some other motive? The obvious example at hand would be Fallout First, which I'm sure you've heard all about. I'm not going to rant and rave about it too much because I'm sure you've already had to listen to plenty of that from other YouTubers. Point is, this is a subscription model that's $13 a month that competes in price with Netflix, with Hulu, with Spotify, with Game Pass, with many of the most well-established and best value subscription services on Earth. That's what they're going up against in terms of the price that they're charging. And what they're offering in exchange are features such as private worlds, which many people thought, at least I did, based on all of the interviews that Todd Howard and the other executives at Bethesda gave. I thought it was going to be a free update to the core game for everybody. I didn't think you'd have to pay for a subscription to get access to private worlds, but whatever. Moving on, they also offer 1,650 atoms to people to buy basically paid mods, and also a scrap box where you can throw stuff in for extra storage. Again, things that most people would assume would be regular free quality of life updates to a game that really needs quality of life updates because it doesn't have a very robust fan base. It doesn't have a good reputation at all in the general public space. And the player count is, it's low. It's low. I don't know how else to put it. It's low. Normally when a game is having so many severe problems, the studio behind it will actively try to pull players in by offering them freebies, by playing a really pro-consumer game to show we're the good guys, we want you, we value you, come on in, we appreciate you. Bethesda's tactic is the exact opposite. Instead of being like, hey, we want you to come play our game, so every new account that signs up with Fallout 76 gets 2,000 free atoms. Instead of doing something like that, they're like, okay, well, we're going to introduce a new package where all the features that many people have been waiting for since launch are locked behind a paywall where you have to pay $13 a month. And this is where I'm conflicted, because there's always a very clear reason for something like this, and it's really hard to figure out what reason that is, in this particular case at least. Now, I've said many times, I'm not particularly interested or impressed with the claim that Bethesda's just greedy for the sake of greedy. So, for instance, they have a set number of players in Fallout 76 who have played it since launch and are fully invested in it, and Bethesda's trying to take advantage of all of them and start charging for a subscription service because they're the only players that are really going to care about this. And I think that is true. I think they are trying to take advantage of the small number of players who are very invested. I think that's true, but I think it's worse than just greed. See, like I said before, the corporate world functions on timetables. Everything is established well in advance. Nothing happens on a dime. Nothing happens as an offhanded decision unless you're Tesla and Elon Musk is your CEO. All of these things are planned in advance months and months before, and everything is very, very tactical. I do not think it's a coincidence that Bethesda announced Fallout First, which inevitably was going to dominate every headline of every gaming YouTuber, every game journal, every website, everything. It was going to dominate it because it fulfilled the narrative perfectly that Bethesda was greedy, that Bethesda has fallen, that Bethesda's blah, blah, blah. It fit that narrative so perfectly, it was going to dominate the headlines. And I guarantee you, everybody at Bethesda who had even a couple brain cells to rub together could have predicted that this was going to blow up in gaming media. And so, knowing that it was going to blow up, what do? When do they release it? They announce it right as all of the reviews are coming out for Obsidian's new title, The Outer Worlds. Now, if you're somehow not familiar, The Outer Worlds is effectively the spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas. Many people consider that to be the definitive Fallout game, and it is the perfect example of everything that Bethesda used to be. People look at Obsidian and they say, that's what we wish Bethesda was still like. That's what we wish BGS still was like. We wish their games were that narratively focused. They wish that it was that focused on choice and options and exploration. It fulfills the narrative. Again, perception's more important than reality. And in this case, both happen to be true, and the perception perfectly mirrors the reality that Bethesda has fallen in their standing in the corporate world, in the gaming sphere, in their respect with and for players, and Obsidian has garnered all of that and basically taken all of it on. Now, I've talked about this before. Bethesda's really weird whenever anybody brings up Fallout New Vegas. BGS gets strange, and I don't know how else to put it, because unless you've watched all of the interviews and you have the full context for all of this, it's hard to explain. But effectively, the vibe I get from it is it's like when there's two siblings. There's the older brother and then there's the younger brother. The older brother graduated. He was really popular in high school. Everybody really liked him. And then he graduated high school, he went to college for a year and he dropped out. He wasn't getting good grades, wasn't really interested. And now he's working a pretty good paying job as a trash collector for a local waste management company. And then there's the little brother who, when he was young, was not particularly popular, really looked up to his older brother, thought the world of him. And since he's grown up, he started to get popular. He went to college and got a degree, was really successful, really popular. Then he moves to Los Angeles and he becomes an actor, and all of a sudden he's famous and worth millions of dollars. And whenever anybody runs into the older brother, they're like, hey, good to see you. How's your brother doing? We really like your brother. Your brother's awesome. That's Bethesda and Obsidian. Bethesda's the older brother, Obsidian's the younger brother. Bethesda used to be at the top of the heap. Bethesda used to be the kings of the world. You go back and watch the videos of E3 2008 when they're showing off Fallout 3. They were dominating everything. Everyone was like, these guys are the kings of the industry. They are ruling the world. And then when Skyrim came out, it just furthered that notion. And Obsidian was always well received, but they were a much smaller studio. They did smaller RPGs. They just never really got into the mainstream. But since all of that has happened, Fallout 4 was released. Many people were disappointed by it. And then Fallout 76 comes out, and it is a train wreck of a game. I mean, that's an understatement, but it's a train wreck of a game. And meanwhile, Obsidian announces that they're bringing back the original creators of the Fallout franchise, and they're going to create their own IP that fulfills all of the hopes and dreams of old school Fallout fans. And guess what? They succeed. Now, Private Division was very kind, and they sent me a review code for The Outer Worlds. I am playing through it. I only got the code the day before for a plethora of reasons, so I'm playing through it. But what I can tell you already is that this game is a spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas, and it scratches the itch that I had forgotten I even had. Seriously, it's been so long since I had a deep, involved, interesting first-person shooter RPG with comical characters who are deep and interesting and that I want to get to know better. Like, it's been so long since I've had that. It's just so satisfying to finally get. And it, again, fulfills that perception that Obsidian has taken the place of Bethesda and that Bethesda has been demoted. And now, whenever Bethesda is asked about Obsidian, about New Vegas, again, it's like when the older brother is asked about the super successful younger brother. It makes the older brother feel as though they're not worth anything, that they've failed. It makes them kind of jealous and envious. It makes them pretty angry, because again, they used to be in that spot. They used to be the cool guy that younger brother looked up to, and now they're seemingly hated or a nobody. Nobody's interested in them anymore. It's a really strange psychological place to be in, is my point. And I think it's gotten the better of the management over at Bethesda. And I think there's a lot of evidence to show that management over there is quite petty and borderline, I would say, vindictive. Why else would a major corporation release news of something that they were sure was going to receive untold amounts of hate and attention online, was going to dominate all of the headlines? Why would they release that the same time, right before the launch of what many people consider to be the spiritual successor to one of their greatest franchises that they have single-handedly destroyed over the last few years? Why else would they do that other than try to screw over Obsidian and make sure that the Outer Worlds is not successful? They dominate the headlines. They get all of these positive articles about the Outer Worlds out of the headlines, out of the news feeds, and instead get Fallout 76 back in the news, get it all Bethesda all the time because all press is good press, and just try and hope and pray that Outer Worlds is not financially successful. It's petty, it's short-sighted, it's frankly kind of pathetic, and I would probably classify it as vindictive and even evil. Say what you will about companies such as Ubisoft or CD Projekt Red or EA, all of these companies, whenever another studio releases a game that's successfully and well received, everybody sends each other cakes and flowers. If you follow any of these studios on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen it. They congratulate each other on their launches, and they're like, that's awesome, you did really, really good. Not Bethesda. Bethesda's pissed off that Outer Worlds is being so well received because, again, it just pokes the bear and shows them that the younger brother, the old guys that weren't successful back in the day, now are the kings of the industry. Everybody loves them, and they have started to hate Bethesda. I don't know how else to phrase it other than that Bethesda has just grown pathetic at this point. I used to try to look at some sort of way of of explaining their actions, and maybe, you know, they just see something we don't. Maybe they were planning for the single player Wastelanders expansion, and they knew that they were going to be able to bring basically Fallout 4 into a multiplayer space. Maybe they were playing 4D Hungry Hippos underwater chess, and they knew something we didn't. Or maybe they're just a shallow, vindictive, petty company that doesn't actually deserve any attention and has blown time and time again every opportunity they've had for redemption. Point is, Khaleesi and I both feel as though the Bethesda of old is dead, that it's unlikely we'll get them back, and it's probably time to just move on and stop hoping and wishing that they were different, because you know, one time screwing up in a major way, okay, it's an occurrence, we can forgive you. 2 times, okay, that's concerning. It's a coincidence, maybe, but get your act together. 3 times plus, that's a pattern, and for me to continue to give you the benefit of the doubt, it's shame on me, right? You need to move on and stop giving them the benefit of the doubt when they're clearly taking advantage of you and of your good graces. So to celebrate the death of Bethesda, make sure to go over to lukestevens.net, sign up for my mailing list for free giveaways every single week, and also check out my Khaleesi stickers. They're actually pictures of Khaleesi, and I will sign them, ship them anywhere in the world. Free shipping, $5 for the sticker, and if you use promo code FBETH, I'm sure you can figure out what that refers to, then you get 25% off your entire order. I should also say this video is sponsored by Audible. They help make sure that this channel can exist while I'm going to school full time. So if you want a 30-day free trial and a free audiobook, just click the link in the comment section. It'll be pinned. You sign up, it helps me. You get a free book. Why not? My recommendation is Ray Dalio's book, Principles. I've been going through it. Really fantastic. He's the founder of Bridgewater Investments, super successful financial firm, and he basically outlines all of the principles that he lives his life by, both in the business world and his personal world. It's really, really interesting. Can't recommend it enough. And it's free with the link below. So at the very least, check it out. You got nothing to lose. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching and listening. I want to hear your thoughts on Bethesda down in the comment section below. I love all of you. Keep it Gucci. Don't be like Bethesda. I love you. Bye-bye. See you next time.